So if you go on my eClass page and you hit content, you click on content, and on the left-hand side, it has spring and then it has performance final. You're going to click on performance final, click on it again. And then here are all of the videos. Here's a copy of the performance final review in case you lost it. So if I don't get through something, or you weren't paying attention, or you missed something, or you want to go back and review the night before, this is where you can locate it. Okay, it gives you a lot of information. It teaches you how to do these things. So you can also like speed run through it as well. So let's go ahead and go over the performance final review. That's not it. That's get rid of all of these things. There we go. All right. So if you look at the performance final review, each page is going to be a separate question. Each page is going to be a separate question. So just looking at it, which page would you like to do? 1, 2, or 3? And I'll take majority rule. It's over there on the back part. Which page would you like to do? 1, 2, or 3? 1 is not bad. You can do it. What I'm going to do is if do this one. It says Jordan is finding the inverse of the following function. Okay. Jordan is finding the inverse of the following function. Complete the problem by filling in the missing step. So here's the original problem. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to switch our x and y. So when we're finding the inverse, we're going to switch our x and y. We're going to rewrite this as x is equal to log of base 2 of y plus 5 minus 9. All right, so notice I wrote something out here. Then we want to isolate our log. So we're going to isolate our log by adding 9 to the other side. Okay, and that's what happened here. So we added 9 to both sides. This canceled. That's how we got here. On the third step, what we're going to do is the circle of life. You could call this the circle of life, or you could say change to exponent. So you start at your base, go to the outside, finish over here. So this is going to give me 2 raised to the x plus 9 equals y plus 5. So we use the circle of life. Also known as we changed to exponential. And then we still want y by itself. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. And that'll give me my final answer. So then the last step would be subtract 5. So that would be step 4. You should put an extra blank on there. So just a reminder, you're graded on 3 things. So content, reasoning, and communication. All right, so content is kind of like, did you get the question right or wrong? Reasoning is, did you show me your steps? Like, so right here. And then communication is going to be that explanation in words. Gotta give me everything. So even if you don't get the question right, if you show me your work and it kind of makes sense and you just messed up somewhere or you forgot to subtract 5 at the very end, okay, cool. I can give you points. Does that make sense? So like you didn't explain yourself? So you just showed the left-hand side? Get you about a 50? Yeah. Okay. The communication piece is the most important part. That's the most important part. Okay. I cannot tell you how to do the circle of life tomorrow or on Friday. Okay, so you got to know how to do this. You got to know how to convert. Okay. Just a reminder on that circle of life, if you have something like this and you want to put it in exponential form, remember you start at your base, you go to the outside, you finish over here. So this is going to be base raised to the x equals y. And y'all, that took me like 5 minutes to do. So if you know what you're doing, it doesn't take long. Okay. Once you're finished with that, go ahead and take a look at the next page. All right. So on number 3, we're talking about exponent rules. Okay. You have to have them memorized. Okay. So if I have a multiplication symbol between two things that have the same base, we're going to add the exponent. Okay. So we're going to add the exponent. So we're going to get 2/3 plus 3/2. And let's say, I don't remember how to add this. Okay. Let's say I forgot. What you can do is you can go into Scientific Desmos and it does it for you. So if I go into the Scientific Desmos calculator and I type 2/3 plus 3/2, it gives me it in decimal form, but I'm going to change that to a fraction and that'll get me 13/6. So this will give me 13/6. So my final answer will be m raised to the 13/6 power. For communication and reasoning, you are going to state it's a product rule. You're also going to tell me that you add the exponents. That's it. Okay, so on this one, we got a little bit more going on. Couple different things. We got a negative in the denominator. We got a 0 right here. And then we've got some that are across this division line. So the first thing I want to do is this y to the 0 power. I'm going to change that to a 1. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this -4/6. I'm going to move it to the top. So I'm going to rearrange this. I've got x to the 2/3 times x to the 4/6 y to the 2nd. And now, since these are on the same side of the division, we can add those exponents. Again, if I don't remember how to add those exponents, I can go into my Scientific Desmos and I can type in 2/3 plus 4/6, and then that's going to give me 4/3. So this is going to simplify to x to the 4/3 y to the 2nd. Another way you could have done this, hold on, let me box that. Another way you could have done this is you could have said 2/3 minus -4/6. You can just type that into your calculator and that would have given you 4/3. For communication, you need to tell me that anything raised to the 0 power is 1. You need to tell me that negatives exponent flip the fraction. You can tell me the product rule. You're going to add exponents. And you can also talk about subtracting it. Really, I just want, hey, give me an explanation for what you did and how you got to that answer. If you just put the answer, it's not completely correct. If you did 2/3 minus -4/6, that's going to give you the quotient rule. And you're just going to say that you subtract the exponents. That's all you're going to say. Yeah. Back to the calculator thing. Scientific Desmos. Yeah. I did 2/3 plus 4/6. And then you can just hit this fraction button on the right-hand side. I think it's off the screen from where you can see it, but what's up? And the last two, I'm gonna move this up. So if you need me to go back, just let me know. All right. So on this one, we have a power raised to a power. So what are we gonna do with the exponent? We got a power raised to a power. What are we gonna do? Power up and multiply, right? Okay, so we have power raised to a power. We're going to multiply. Okay. So what's 3 times 2/3? Well, 3 times 2/3 is going to give me, so 3 times 2/3. These will cancel and I'll have x to the second. If I multiply -2 times 2/3, so -2 times 2/3, that'll give me y to the -4/3. So if I put these together, that's going to give me x squared, y to the -4/3. And remember, mathematicians do not like exponents being negative. So our final answer will be x squared over y to the 4/3. So we have power raised to a power, we're going to multiply. We have negative exponents. Wow, my handwriting's trash. Okay, negative exponents, sorry. And that's all. Last one. This one's a little tricky because it looks hard, but it's really not. Okay, for a negative exponent, what am I going to do with this? I'm going to flip it, right? So this is going to be rewritten as 1 over 27 raised to the 2/3. Now, I have 1 over 27 raised to the 2/3. I can take this and I can plug it into my calculator and see if it'll simplify. So really quick, if I type 1 divided by 27, the parentheses raised to the 2/3, it's going to give me 0.11111, which will simplify to 1 over 9. Okay, so this will simplify to 1/9. Another way you can show this for like the reasoning, because like notice how I haven't put any rules or anything down, is you can convert this to radical form. But remember, you got to explain. So we're going to convert this to radical form. This is going to give me a 3 in that radical on that little cubby hole, and a 2 underneath is the exponent. Plug it into Desmos. Just as a reminder, your little exponent, if you have an exponent written in fraction form, the way you convert it to radical form is you put the index in the little cubby, and then the exponent or the numerator goes inside as the exponent. Yep.
You make one up
Like this one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do. Can I use a positive number as a numerator? If this was just 27 raised to the 2/3, this will give me 9. Yeah. So if the original problem was 27 raised to the 2/3, this would give me the same thing I got right here, except 1 would not be in the numerator. So this would just be 9. Notice how I flipped it? Yeah. Give me 2 seconds. All right. So what'd y'all get for a 64 raised to the negative 2/3? What'd y'all get? Crazy count. Okay, so that's going to give you 1 over 16, right? So those are 2 questions on the performance file. I was about to say those are 2 questions on the performance file. Now, you could, if you're like, I don't want to remember all these exponent rules. If you want to go back and you want to do the first one, that's totally okay too. The first one is everything that we kind of learned this unit. Okay, so it's not super terrible, but you're writing the constraints and what they represent. There's a lot more explaining in this one than there is in the other ones. Okay, again, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay. All right, so what I need you to do is go ahead and put that in your book bag. Do not lose it. You lose it, so sorry. Okay, I need you to take out a piece of paper because we're going to go over unit 6. Okay, we're going to go over unit 6. All right, so one of the questions is going to ask you something like this. You have nickels, ELS, my bad, ELS, and let's say dimes. Okay, so you got nickels and dimes in your pocket. Okay, you have a total of 45 coins. You have a total amount of $1.55. Okay, we want to write an equation that represents this situation. Okay, so on your paper, I would write this information out, and then we're going to go through it in just a second. If you want to title this paper Unit 6 Review, probably a good idea. So how much is a nickel? Like, how many cents? 5 cents. Until the federal government changes that, right? Oh, bro, it's a whole story. Okay, how much is dimes? 10 cents, right? Okay, so we're going to represent N for nickels and D for dimes. So we have 0.05 N plus 0.1 dimes. And how much money do we got in total? $1.55. Who's that $100? What we got? Okay. Now, when we add together the nickels and dimes, we're going to have N plus D equals 45. These are the two $1.55. Again? 1.55 plus sign.
Oh, yeah.
The only two variables that we defined was nickels are N, dimes D. Ta-da! That's it. This is a side note. Pennies, because I know we don't count those as much. 0.01. So kind of similar to dimes, but it's one more decimal place over. It's 1 cent. Okay. This is just a side note. Let's say I have chocolates and candy bars. Okay. And let's say I have to have at least one of each. But my mom said that I can have no more than 10 pieces in total. I don't know why my mother would say that, but let's just theoretically, hypothetically say. So I can have at least one of each, but no more than 10 pieces in total. I'm going to define chocolates as C and candy as, let's do Y. And I want to write inequalities to represent this situation. So if I say at least one of each, what is that inequality going to look like? Okay, so that's going to be C is greater than or equal to 1, and Y is greater than or equal to 1. Now, what about the no more than 10 pieces in total? How would I write that inequality? No more than 10 pieces in total. Well, if we're gonna say in total, that means that we're gonna combine our chocolate and our candy, right? Huh? No. No more than 10. So we're gonna have less than or equal to 10. So everybody see where I got that from? Okay. If I give you two different equations, if I say, let's say f of x is equal to 3x to the second, x plus 2 minus 5, and I say g of x is equal to absolute value of x plus 4 minus 2. And I give you these things, and I say, I only want my question is, how many solutions does this have? Okay, good. Can you take a moment? So let's type this in really quick. Just like what Chris said, if you have a problem with that exponent, make sure that you use parentheses around it. Okay, for the absolute value, remember that's shift and then that like backslash button that's right above the enter key. Okay, so how many solutions do we have? 1, and it's located at negative 2.264. That make sense? Okay, so on this one, I would only have one solution. All right. Suggestion,